Hi, I'm George Yancey. Let's shatter some paradigms. The paradigm I want to shatter concerns our society. Our society says that the solution to our problems is to figure out that solution and then to convince everyone of our solution. I'm going to focus in on racial issues because that's the issue that I'm very concerned about. But this idea that we can force people to do what is right is a problem in many ways. And so if you want to apply this in other areas, I will welcome that. So in our society, on racial issues, I have a video out there on colorblindness. I have a video out there on anti-racism. And if you've seen those videos, and if you've not seen those videos, please go back and watch them. But if you've seen those videos, you know that I critique both approaches. And if you watch both of those videos before you come to this one, you may be wondering, well, what is your solution? And in the solution, I want to look at this as a Christian. Now, I'm not going to say something outrageous such as, well, if you're in colorblindness, then you're not a Christian, or if you're anti-racism, then you're not a Christian. That's obviously not the case. But I do think both approaches are not a Christian way of dealing with racism. And to illustrate this, I want to go to what I think is a very, very important dynamic in Christianity that makes it different from more secular ways of looking at things. Let's just put it that way. And what we'll look at is the whole notion of human depravity. Now, let me just set this up. I was in graduate school, and I was in graduate school and listening to my colleagues talk about enlightenment and human perfectibility and how we are going to create a perfect society eventually. And I have a video on that and why depravity is a better way to look at things than perfectibility. And I knew that one of the problems with this was that you eventually get to the point to where you think you have the best society. So why aren't people doing what you want them to do? And so we see this. We see this in colorblindness. You know, I remember a few years ago when I was thinking about how to raise my boys. I have 3 boys, and how to raise them dealing with racial issues. And I asked some people in Facebook, I just said, hey, if you're raising kids of color, how do you deal with talking about racial issues? And I got some advice, to be sure, but I also got a lot of blowback from people who are saying, don't raise them to be good black men, raise them to be good Christian men. Now, my goal is to raise them to be good Christian black men. That's my goal. But the black is part of it. I'm not saying it's the most important part, but it is a part of that. What was happening was some individuals were offended that I was not adapting colorblindness to raise my boys. Anti-racism also is about, hey, everyone needs to be anti-racist, and then we'll solve racial problems. Now, this presumes that we as humans know the best solution. And it ignores the fact that we have our own biases, that we have our own failings, that our depravity is going to drive us towards solutions that work best for ourselves and people we like than for other people. And I think this has happened with both anti-racism and colorblindness. I think this is why these solutions will not work. I'm not saying that there aren't times I should be colorblind. When I'm grading my students' papers, you better believe I am endeavoring to be colorblind. I'm not saying there are not times where I should not be anti-racist. When I'm assessing some of the institutional racism in our society, I'm being a little bit anti-racist. What I'm saying is to have either one be this overarching solution that we force people into is not Christ-like. To me, Christ-likeness is recognizing my own depravity and then working with other people who may help me to see my depravity as I help them to see their depravity to find better solutions. A Christian solution is better conversations. A concept that I have enjoyed learning about to sort of illustrate this is a concept known as collaborative conversations. Collaborative conversations. What are collaborative conversations? A quick definition these are purposeful conversations meant to build on each other's ideas to find solutions. It's purposeful. We have a reason why we're engaging in these conversations. We build on each other's ideas. I don't just do my ideas and force on everyone else. I have to learn about your ideas, and then you learn about mine. We build on each other's ideas, and we find a solution. And I believe we find solutions that are more sustainable when we do collaborative conversation as opposed to just forcing people to our ideas. I learn more when I engage in collaborative conversations than when I just talk at people. Now, they may learn more when I just talk at them, but I'm not learning, and vice versa. If I'm just listening to you, I may be learning, but you're not learning. We need collaborative conversations. Collaborative conversations is about changing people's perspectives, okay? It is about changing people's perspectives. The research on that, though, shows that we don't change people's perspectives by browbeating them. Want to know how? We build rapport, build connections with people. I want to change my mind because I'm with someone who cares about me. And if I don't have rapport with you, do you care about me or not? Am I just someone for you to manipulate for your own ends? We learn about the other people's ideas accurately. We don't strawman it. We don't make it worse than what it is. We accurately learn their ideas. We admit when others have a good point. We don't have all the knowledge. Sometimes other people have very good points. And it's hard to admit that because then you're saying, oh no, do I have to agree with them on this? And that's not the right attitude. We admit when they have a good point. We find areas of agreement. Let's not disagree with them simply because we disagree with them on something else. Let's not disagree with them everywhere. Let's find areas of agreement. Let's find areas we can say yes to so we can say yes later on to some sort of compromise. We also look beneath the surface in order to understand what might be driving them. These are important ways in which we can engage in ways of persuasion. This does not sound like forcing them to believe what we want them to believe. I like to think of this as a difference between power and moral suasion. We can get people to do what we want through power. I get my students to study because I have the power to give them a grade. There can be physical power where I force people to do something because I'm stronger than they are. There can be power through money. I'll give you money if you do what I ask you to do. There are different ways in which we can use power to get people to do what we want them to do. Now, sometimes power is necessary. As I said, I'm raising 3 boys. Sometimes you engage in the power. Stop hitting your brother or you will be in trouble. Yes, there's a time for that. But moral suasion is how you get change. Power changes a person at that point in time. Moral suasion is how you get people, moral suasion defined as convincing them morally this is right and this is wrong, rather than just forcing them to do something that you think is right. That changes them long term. And moral suasion, done persuading people the way that I talked about building rapport, about engaging with them, admitting when they're right, finding areas of agreement. If we persuade people that way, you know what? We build community. Power builds compliance, polarizes us. Moral suasion, collaborative conversation builds community. There's research showing that interracial contact under proper conditions can produce less bias, that when we feel that we are in the same group with others, that we feel that they're in group, we like them more, that collaborative conversation builds voluntary compliance. There's research suggesting that this is the direction to go. And I think as a Christian, biblically, this is the direction to go. Does this shatter a paradigm for you? Does it shatter a paradigm of thinking that the way to get what we want is to force others into what we think is correct, rather than communicating with them, finding compromises, learning how to work this out. I know I'm not going to give a lot of nuts and bolts on how to actually do this. I am going to do this in future videos, or I've already done this if you see this video early on. I am going to talk about how we actually do this, the nuts and bolts. But right now I just want to put out this idea, a collaborative conversation, and perhaps shatter some paradigms. If you find this useful, if you enjoy this video, you know what I want. You can hit the subscribe button, like, comment, tell your friends. This is oxygen for a small content creator like myself. Please consider doing that. And please come back, once again, where we can shatter some paradigms.